Hello, welcome back. In the last session, we had discussed about conceptual database design. That is, all the requirements collected from the users are represented using a high-level conceptual schema, which was entity relationship model in our case. So now let us think about how to convert or how to implement this database. So for that, we have to convert this high-level conceptual schema into a data model which can be directly implemented. So here we are using this relational data model for the implementation level. So this step, that is converting a high-level conceptual schema into a model which can be directly implemented. This phase is called logical database design. So we can see different steps to convert this high-level conceptual schema into a logical database schema. Different steps are there, or algorithm is there. So before stepping into the algorithm, let us have some basics about this relational model. So we will begin by defining the modeling concepts and notations of a relational model first. Then we'll have a discussion on relational constraints that are considered as important part of a relational model and are automatically enforced in most of the relational databases. And finally, we will discuss about the relational schema for the company database we have selected. So coming to the basics. So in relational model, the entire database can be thought of as a collection of relations. So each relation can be thought of as a table of values. So if we think like that, each row in a table represents a collection of related data items. That is, a row represents a fact that typically corresponds to a real world entity or relationship. So the table name and column names are used to help to interpret the meaning of the values in each row. So for simplicity, let us go through an example first. Then we will go to different formal definitions of relational model. So in the previous example, that is company database, we had discussed about different entities, right? So we had an entity type called student. So we will see how this student entity type can be represented in relational model. Here it will be represented as a relation and the relation name is student, and the entire relation will be represented as a table of values. You can see that the attribute of that entity type will be column name for the relation, and each row of this table or relation represents the information pertaining to a particular student, and these rows are called tuples. So based on this, let us go through different formal definitions. So a relation can be defined in different ways. One of the ways using a schema. Schema of a relation are, within the bracket we have to list out different attributes. So meaning is that relation schema are defined over the attributes A1, A2, etc. AN. Just for example, we have a relation customer with attributes customer ID, name, address and phone number, which can be represented like this. So here the customer is a relation defined over the four attributes customer ID, customer name, address and phone number, and each of which, that is each attribute has a domain or a set of valid values. Just for example, customer ID, the domain can be any possible 6-digit number. Like that, any attribute will have a domain, the set of possible values. The easiest method to define the domain is the data type for the corresponding attribute, like set of integers, set of strings like that, in which we can add some constraints also. And next term is tuple. A tuple is an ordered set of values. So each value in the tuple is derived from an appropriate domain. Just for example, in our customer table, each row can be treated as a tuple, and which consists of 4 different values. First value always will be the customer ID, then the customer name, third one customer address, and fourth one is the customer's phone number. So we can say that a relation is a set of tuples or rows, and column in a table also can be called as attributes, just like in case of ER model. Coming to the term domain again, A domain has a logical definition. Just for example, phone number. The domain will be a set of all possible 10-digit phone numbers which are valid. And the domain may have sometimes format. Just for example, date will have a format like 4-digit year hyphen 2-digit month then 2-digit date, or the reverse also possible. Such restrictions will be there for a domain in some cases. The most easiest way to define a domain is to use the corresponding data type, say integer, set of all possible integers, set of all possible strings like that, within which we will implement or give some constraints like this. An attribute designates the role played by the domain. For example, domain date may be used to define attributes. Invoice date, payment date, etc. can be expressed using these attributes. So we have seen the definition of a relational schema R, which is denoted by capital R with attributes in bracket, is made up of a relation name R and a list of attributes A1 to AN. So the degree of a relation schema or relation is the number of attributes n of its relation schema. Just for example, we have a relation schema here, student, with attributes name, SSN, home, phone, etc. Then we can say that this relation is having a degree 7 because it is having 7 different attributes. Now a relation or relation state, which is denoted by small r of the relation schema capital R, is also denoted by this expression small r within bracket capital R, which denotes the corresponding schema. We can define this relation or relation state as a set of n tuples, and it can be denoted as R is equal to a set of tuples T1 to Tm. So each tuple is a row of the relation. Each n tuple T is an ordered list of n values, where n is the number of attributes. And we can denote each tuple as a set of values v1, v2, etc. up to vn, where each value vi will be definitely an element of domain of ai. Any value within the possible range of values, that is denoted by domain of that corresponding attribute, right? So any value vi should be a member of this domain of ai, or it can be a special null value. These are the two possible values for any particular attribute in a tuple. So the relational schema is also called intension, whereas relation state can be called as extension of a relation. Now we can just summarize these formal and informal terms we are using. Table we are normally call which is a relation actually, and column in a table can the attribute and domain of a relation. Row of a table which denotes a tuple in a relation. Values in a column will be a domain of the corresponding attribute. Table definition is the relational schema, and populated table, the current state of a table, will be the extension. And the example we have seen earlier, that is student as a relational schema with attributes name, SSN, home, phone, etc. 7 different attributes are there. So we can say that student is a relational schema with degree 7, and at any instant, a particular instant of time, this is the populated value within the student. So we can say that this table denotes the relation state or extension, and first row is the first tuple of this relation with which denotes a particular student information. Like that, currently we have 5 different tuples in this table. Now some more characteristics of a relation. First one is ordering of tuples in a relation. Within a relation, whether the order of different tuples are important or not. Definitely the order is not at all important. Any student information can be there in any row. So the tuples are not considered to be ordered even though they appear to be in a tabular form. And ordering of attributes in a relation schema. So within a tuple, whether the order of different attributes is important or not. Yeah, definitely that is important because we are denoting a relation schema like this. So first attribute should be always A1. For example, in case of student, a tuple V1, V2, etc. Vn, anytime V1 represent the name of the corresponding student. So we cannot change the order of different attributes within a tuple. And values in a tuple, it can be atomic values, and we know that each and every value should be a member of corresponding domain of values, or it can be a special null value. When this null value will be populated in a table or a relation. In cases where the corresponding values are unknown or inapplicable to certain tuples. This, for example, land phone number of a student. That number may not be known or may not exist. Both cases we can fill out with null values. Now certain other cases are there that value is just unknown. It should exist but is not known. Such cases, for example, age of a student. Some value should be there but currently it is unknown. In that case also we can populate with null values. Now some notations in relational model. As you know, the relational schema R will be denoted using uppercase R together with attributes in parentheses. The uppercase letters Q, R, S, etc. denote the relation names, whereas lowercase letters Q, R, S, etc. denote the relation states or the current population of the corresponding relational schema. And letters, lowercase letters T, U, V denote tuples. And in general, the name of the relation schema such as student also indicates the current set of tuples in the relation. And the current, that is the current relation state, will be represented using the schema name, whereas the schema name together with the attributes refers only to the relation schema. So the mere name will denote the corresponding state also, relation state also. And also an attribute A can be qualified with the relation name R, like R dot A. Just for example, student dot name represent the first attribute, name attribute of the relation student, or student dot age, like that we can denote. And we refer to component values of a tuple T by using square bracket, index values like that. T within square bracket AI denote the tuple value of AI, that is Vi. And we can refer to a subtuple, a range of attributes, a set of attributes, a subpart of this attribute set can be denoted using T within square bracket. We can list out the different attributes of the required subtuple. Next is relational model constraints. So far we have discussed the characteristics of a single relation, right? But in a relational database, there will be typically many relations, and the tuples in those relations are usually related in various ways. And the state of the whole database will correspond to the states of all its relations at a particular point in time. So definitely there are generally many restrictions or constraints on the actual values in a database state. Definitely these constraints are actually derived from the rules in the mini world that the database represents. So we can see what are the different restrictions on the data that can be specified on a relational database in the form of constraints. In general, the constraints on database can be divided into three different categories. Inherent model-based constraints or implicit constraints is the first one. Then schema-based constraints or explicit constraint. And third one is application-based or semantic constraints or business rules. The constraints which are inherent in the data model are called inherent model-based constraints or implicit constraints. Just for example, the constraint that a relation cannot have duplicate tuples. This can be called as an inherent constraint. So we are not bothered about such constraints here. And the second one, that is schema-based constraints or explicit constraints, is our major concern. So constraints that can be directly expressed in schemas of the data model. Typically we can specify those constraints, schema-based constraints using the DDL, data definition language. So such constraints are mainly focused here. And third type of constraints are the constraints that cannot be directly expressed in the schemas of the data model, and it should be expressed and enforced by the application programs. So those are called application based or semantic constraints or business rules. So we are not bothered about that also here. We are concentrating on the second one, which can be directly insisted using the data definition language. So this category, that are schema based constraints, can be categorized into three different constraints again: key constraints, entity integrity constraints, and finally referential integrity constraints. So we can say in general that constraints are conditions that must hold on all valid relation instances. Now coming to the first one, that is key constraints. From the formal definition of a relation is defined as a set of tuples, right? Set means there is no duplicate element. So definitely each and every tuple in a relation will be unique in some way. Obviously some of the attributes value will be same for more than one tuple, but any two tuple if we take, it will never have the same combination of values for all their attributes. That makes some of the attributes or some combination of attributes make them unique. So let us take this subset of attributes which is unique for every tuple. That subset can be called a super key. So if we take two different tuple T1 and T2, T1 and T2 will never have the same value or same combination of values for the super key attributes. So a super key SK specifies a uniqueness constraints that no two distinct tuples in a relation R can have the same value for this SK super key. Every relation has at least one default super key, right? That is the set of all its attributes together. A super key can have redundant attributes. That is, even if we remove some of the attributes from this super key, still the uniqueness property will be there. So next we have to derive a key, that is some more useful concept which has no redundancy. So we can say that a key of R is a minimal super key. That is a super key K such that removal of any attribute from K results in a set of attributes that is not a super key. So minimal super key can be called as a key of a relation. So definitely this key of a relation R should hold two different properties. First property is that two distinct tuples in any relation will not have the same identical values for attributes in the key. That definitely hold for the super key also. And the second property is that it's a minimal super key, that is super key from which we cannot remove any attribute and still have the uniqueness property. An example for this keys and super keys with a relational schema for a car relation. So we have a relation schema car with attributes state, registration number, serial number, make, model, year, etc. We can say that two different keys are there. Key 1 is state and registration number together will uniquely decide each and every tuple. Like that, serial number also will be unique for every tuple. So these two keys are there, and which are also definitely super keys. And we can see another super key, serial number and make, that combination is a super key, right? But it's not a key because if we remove the make, even then we can have the uniqueness property. So serial number and make together forms a super key but not a key. But we have two different keys here. So like that, schema or relation can have multiple keys. So those are called candidate keys, and from which one will be chosen arbitrarily to be primary key. Okay, so we can choose either the key 1 or key 2 as the primary key, and usually this primary key will be denoted by giving an underline. So here the state and registration number together is selected as the key, primary key. Another example, a car relation schema in which license number and engine serial number are candidate keys, in which license number is chosen here as the primary key, which is underlined. So the choice of one to become the primary key is usually arbitrary. Anyway, it is better to choose the primary key with a single attribute or a small number of attributes. So others will be simply designated as unique keys and will not be underlined. Now the second integrity constraint is that entity integrity. So before that, let us define a relational database schema. So relational database schema is a set S of relational schemas that belong to the same database. So we can denote S as a set of R1, R2, etc. Rn, where Ri is a relational schema. So just for example, for our company database, all the relations together, the schemas of all the relations together forms the relational database schema for company database. So employee is a relational schema, department locations, like that, all the schemas together forms the relational database schema for company database. So as an example, so we have the employee relational schema here. This can be denoted using the attributes like name, SSN, etc. Department is another relational schema. Department location, project, work zone and dependent. Each one, the key is identified, primary key is identified, which is represented using underline. Department number is the primary key for department relational schemas. Like that, everything is marked. So all these relational schemas together forms the relational database schema for company database. Entity integrity constraints state that the primary key attributes pk of each relational schema R in S cannot have null values in any tuple of R. So definitely this is because primary key values are used to identify the individual tuples, right? So it should not be null anyway. So T of pk should not be equal to null for any tuple R, tuple T in R. Other attributes R may have similar constraints like it should not have null values even though they are not members of the primary key. That depends on the nature of attributes. Anyway, the primary key should not have a null value for any tuple. So both the key constraints and entity integrity constraints are specified on individual relations. Now the third constraint is referential integrity constraint, which is specified between two different relations and is used to maintain the consistency among tuples in two different relations. So we can see what is actually referential integrity. So before that, we have to be familiar with different terms like referencing relation and referenced relation. We can see an example for referencing and referenced relation. So in our company database example, in the employee relational schema, we have an attribute DNO, right? So this DNO will give the department number for which each employee works. So its value in every employee tuple must match the department number value of some tuple in the department relation, right? Then only it will be logical. So we can say that the employee is a relation which is a referencing relation which refers the department. Okay, so employee is the referencing relation and DNO can be treated as a foreign key because it refers to some primary key of some other relation. Here, this DNO refers the department number which is the primary key for department relation. So employee is the referenced relation and DNO is the foreign key, whereas department is the referenced relation, D number is the primary key. So these are the terms you have to be familiar with. So tuples in reference relation R1 have attributes Fk called foreign key attributes that reference the primary key attributes Pk of the referenced relation R2. So here R1 is employee and R2 is department. A tuple T1 in R1 is said to reference a tuple T2 in R2 if foreign key of T1 equal to the primary key of T2. So this type of constraint, that is referential integrity constraint, can be displayed in a relational database schema as a directed arc from R1.fk to R2. And the constraint specifies that, or the statement of the constraint is that the value in the foreign key column or columns of the reference relation R1 can be either two different cases. First case is that a value of an existing primary key value of the corresponding primary key Pk in the reference relation or a null. That means in our case, if an employee having a department number, it should point to an existing department, or it should be null. Null in the sense that employee is not yet assigned a department. The second case, that is if the corresponding foreign key is null, that foreign key should not be a part of its own primary key. That is DNO in our case, employee relation, should not be part of the primary key of employee. So these are the different constraints in referential integrity constraint. Now let us just have a look on the different relations on this company relational database schema, and then let us see how the referential integrity can be represented in this relational schema. So here the employee relation with this much tuples here. The primary key is the SSN, like the department having three different tuples, three different departments are the D number is the corresponding primary key. Department locations, the D number together with the department location, D location is taken as the primary key here. Like that every relations are represented and the corresponding primary keys are identified. Now how the referential integrity constraints can be displayed. So these are the different relation schemas, employee relation schema, department relation schema, all together form the company database relation database schema, right? Now the referential integrities are marked using this directed arrow. So in the employee relation schema, the DNO refers the D number, which is the primary key of the department. Like that, the D number inside the department location also refers the D number in the department. So D number in department location can be treated as foreign key, whereas it's the primary key in the department. Like that, the PNO in work zone relation refer the P number in the project. So PNO here is a foreign key and it's the primary key in project. Sometimes the referencing and referred relation can be the same. Reference relation and reference relation can be the same. In the case of employee, the super SSN refers its own primary key SSN. So super SSN is a foreign key, whereas SSN is the primary key for employee. Like that, all the primary keys and foreign keys, the referential integrity constraints can be represented. In the next session, you can see how a conceptual schema can be directly converted into a relational database schema using a set of steps or algorithm. Thank you.